Every year it's the same thing. You want to give people something personal, but you don't want to spend a fortune or hand make 15 different things. This is my answer to that. A custom ornament that takes maybe 20 minutes to design, and once you've got the base file, swapping in a new name is like a minute of work. Same design, whole gift list handled. I'll walk you through the Fusion 360 setup, some quick vector work, and then into Bambu Studio to get it print ready. Nothing complicated. If you've done a few projects in Fusion, you can do this. Welcome back to the Custom Corner. Let's make some ornaments. Starting in Fusion 360 with a new sketch on the top plane. I'm drawing a center diameter circle. This is going to be the main body of the ornament. For size, I'm going with 85mm. Big enough to see details, small enough that it doesn't take forever to print. You can adjust this to whatever you want, but this felt like a good balance. Next, another circle. Same center point but smaller. This one's going to be the gap between the two circles that creates the border around the edge. I make a mistake here and end up changing the diameter from 85 to 80 and the inner circle to 72mm, which is fine. I only noticed this while editing the video, but it's no big deal. If you want a thicker border, make this gap bigger. Thinner border, bring it closer. It's all up to you. Now for the nameplate at the center. This is just a couple of rectangles to create a border like the circles we just did. The shape is up to you. You could do an oval, another circle, or skip it altogether. I'm positioning it right in the middle of the ornament. This is where the name is going to sit. Doing this will create a border that connects to the circle and also give us a way to change the nameplate color so the name stands out even more. The inner rectangle is constrained to the circle here, and the outer rectangle will give us a way to join the nameplate border to the circular area. Then I set up some constraints on the spacing between the two rectangles. This ensures that both the top and bottom borders end up the same thickness. I do this by selecting the two edges that I want to constrain and hitting D for dimension. Then I type in the constraint value. In this case, I want them to be 2mm thick. With that done, it's time to get our SVGs ready. Let's switch over to Affinity Designer. I'm using the same vector file from my gift tag video. If you saw that one, this will look familiar. The snowflake is what I'm grabbing first. Copy it out of the original file, paste it into its own document, and export as an SVG. Can't get simpler than that. If you don't have Affinity Designer, Inkscape is free and does the same thing. You just need something that can export clean SVG files. Next up is the ribbon. This is going to be where the hole for the ornament will be. I'm copying it into a new file and stripping out the polka dots. I just want a clean, simple ribbon for this. With that done, I'll export that as an SVG too. Back in Fusion, I'm inserting the ribbon SVG as a sketch, resizing it, and placing it right at the top of the ornament. This is where the hanging hole is going to go later. Position it so it overlaps the border just enough to look like it's attached. You don't want it floating above the ornament, but you also don't want it buried behind the border. Now the snowflakes. Same process. Insert SVG, but I'm doing this 4 times and positioning them around the nameplate. I create different sizes so it has some variations. I'll crop these in a bit so they look like they're in the background and more natural. Feel free to rotate them a bit too, that will also make them look unique. Here's where it gets a little tedious. One snowflake extends past the edge of the ornament, so I need to trim anything that falls outside the outer circle. I'll also trim any overlapping areas so it's easier to extrude later. I'll skip over most of this since it's just me clicking around, hitting delete, and we don't need to see that. With the sketch done, I'll extrude the outer border. This is going to be the thickest part of the ornament, 3mm. It gives the whole thing some structure. We select all the border segments that make up the ring, then we'll hit E for extrude, type in 3mm, and change the drop down to new component. We do the same for the nameplate border. We select the 4 sides, E for extrude, also 3mm high, and hit new component. Remember to rename the components as you go along. It'll make it easier to assign colors later on. I'll skip towards the end of the extrusion since it's all the same. You can vary the heights to give the ornament some depth. For instance, I made the snowflakes be 3mm high, but the background just 1.5. Same for the nameplate. I'll now add the text to make that high enough to reach the height of the border and the snowflakes. I got this as an SVG too, since text handling in Fusion can be really bad. So same import process. Position it on the nameplate centered, extrude it up. I'm going to make this 1.5 millimeters since the nameplate is 1.5, so the name has some pop to it. And this is the part that makes it easy to replicate. Next time we just delete this name, import a different one, position it, and extrude it. Everything else stays the same. I just need to extrude the background and we're done. And that's it for the modeling. I'm exporting this as a step file, so it comes into Bambu Studio with all the separate bodies intact. Makes color assignment way easier. Alright, if you made it this far, the hard part's over. Now it's just making it look good. Let's import our model and start assigning colors to each part. The border, the background, the nameplate, snowflake's name. Each one can be a different color if you want. This is where you can get creative. Match someone's favorite colors, go classic red and green like I am, whatever works for the person you're making it for. I'm adding the hanging hole here with a boolean subtract. Just a cylinder through the ribbon where the hook or string will go through. You could do this in Fusion too, but I find it faster to do it in the slicer. One thing to watch out though, when you do a boolean operation in Bambu Studio, it might reset your color assignments. If that happens, just reassign them. Annoying but quick. I'll skip that part and get to the end. In the future, I'll be doing any boolean operations first, then color assignments. Two settings I'd recommend turning on for prints like this. First, ironing for the top surfaces. This makes the extruder do an extra pass over flat areas to smooth them out. It gives you that clean, finished look instead of visible lines. Second, switch the wall generator to Arachne. It handles thin features like the snowflake details and the text way better than the default. You get cleaner, more consistent lines. With those settings out of the way, let's get this printed. I printed a couple more to show you how versatile it is after you get the first one done. And that's it. Something personal, not too complicated, and it actually looks like you tried. If you found this helpful, give the video a like and consider subscribing if you're new. If you have any ideas, please leave them in the comments. Happy holidays, everyone. See you in the next one.